over there. Oh, yeah. Where is she? Yeah. I knew it. Look at this. You get to be right across from each other. Honey, I could take all kinds of pictures of you right next to me.
The kind of education that you received here in an institution that I have liked over the last 7 years to describe as a community of learning, a community of teaching, a community of living in the Franciscan tradition. I truly hope that your lives will be richer for having been a student here, that you will have the pleasures and the challenges of living the examined rather than the unexamined life, that you will have a passion for justice and participate in our society as responsible and compassionate citizens. And at those deeply personal and poignant moments in your life, that you will allow yourselves to be touched by the power and presence of God's Spirit as that Spirit moves among you in your hearts and indeed in our wider world. My friends, I say to people that I couldn't imagine being the president of the college after the class of 1996 has left. That's half true. I would like to take this opportunity, though, to officially present to the college community, at least to this graduating class, my successor as president of the college, Father Kevin Mackin, the 9th president of Siena College. Father Kevin.
Exercises. It is a great honor to stand here before you today representing the class of 1996, a class that over the past few years has shared many of the same hopes, dreams, and a common goal, a goal we recognize and celebrate today. Beginning our college career, we were all faced with the question of what our future would hold for us. And upon leaving today, some of us are still faced with that uncertainty. But I challenge you to approach that future with confidence in the knowledge, friendship, and wisdom you gained while you were here at Siena. I can guarantee that each of you are leaving Siena today a different person than the day you arrived. Our minds have been expanded not only through our academic studies, but also through the social environment we have shared over the past few years. We all began our college careers seeking an education in various academic studies. It's interesting to look back now and see that although we came to Siena for an education, we leave with more than just an academic education. There are many things that contributed to the person I am, the people we leave as today.
To the faculty member who best exemplifies the following criteria: model classroom teaching, campus leadership, pioneering teaching methodology, and creative course development and/or instructional leadership. I'm happy to announce the winner of this year's award, James Matthews, Professor of Computer Science. Ask any student to describe Mr. Matthews in a word, and responses might include hyper, crazy, enthusiastic, intelligent, and inspirational. To sum it up, someone who is highly respected by his colleagues and his students. Who could ever forget this energetic man bounding in on the first day of classes, only to spend time learning the names of each and every student until he knew us all? As the semester wore on, we got to know him a little better. He would come into class, and we would begin with an exercise such as, how old are you in years if you are 1 billion seconds old? If you want the answer, see Mr. Matthews after commencement.
General Electric's Information Management Leadership Program. She will be starting a full-time position with GE in just a few weeks. At Siena College, there are many outstanding faculty members, and so it is a great honor to be recognized with this year's Teaching Award. At these commencement exercises, where we recognize and honor the learning that you, the graduates of 1996, have done, I am also honored to represent the faculty's contribution to our partnership of teaching and learning by sharing a few words with you. When I first started teaching, I read a handbook with tips and strategies for teachers. In the beginning of this book by Max Sobel and Evan Maletsky, there's a statement that a good teacher knows his stuff knows the students he intends to stuff, and most of all, knows how to stuff them artistically. I will share some of my thoughts and experiences about knowing and not knowing stuff, stuffies, and stuffing. To think about what they don't know. A good teacher knows the students he intends to stuff. For one thing, he chooses material that is not so easy that he bores his students, and not so difficult that he completely discourages them. But a good teacher is aware that he does not know much about his students. Like Watson, Olson, and Gates, I have my own first-hand experiences with bad judgment. During my first year of college, I lived on the same dormitory floor as Bruce Willis. Yes, the moonlighting and die-hard Bruce Willis. I don't remember doing calculus problems together with Bruce, but we did play cards frequently. Penny-a-point hearts games. At the end of the year, Bruce decided that he was dropping out of school. I was certain that he was making a big mistake. I thought, how would he ever get anywhere by quitting school? How would he ever be successful or even earn a living? A second example of bad judgment on my part is my evaluation of a former student. One year when I was teaching 7th grade mathematics, I made a list of who I thought were my best mathematics students. There was an enthusiastic boy I put about 9th or 10th best on the list. I ran into him about 10 years later when he was 23 years old. He was just finishing his PhD in mathematics at a very well-known university. We talked at length about his dissertation and the other exciting work he had done. I never would have predicted such a
environmental advocate and professor of law at Pace University for the honorary degree Doctor of Laws. A lifelong love of the water, which began during childhood summers spent on the shores of Hyannisport, has fueled Professor Kennedy's passion to protect the quality of America's rivers, lakes, and the world's oceans. Professor Kennedy's record of defending the environment is exemplary. As an attorney, his successes include the fight against corporations polluting the Hudson River and Long Island Sound, and negotiating the New York City watershed agreement to protect the city's water supply. Professor Kennedy is also an active outdoorsman. An avid falconer since boyhood, he flies hawks near his home nearly every day. An enthusiasm for whitewater paddling took him to South America, where he led several river expeditions. Professor Kennedy has said he acquired his desire to right the wrongs committed against the environment from his late father.
Congratulations to all of you, all of the graduates. I'm very happy to be here today. Dr. Woolbright, when he introduced me as a member of the Kennedy family and invoked some of the memories of my father. And I heard a lot of Kennedy stories this morning, I must say, from Mr. McDougall, who used to work with my father, and many of the others, people here who had memories of my father. And I'm very accustomed to that, to being identified as a member of the Kennedy family wherever I go. Since I was a boy, people have said, you're Bobby's son, or you're Jack's nephew, or you're Ted's nephew. This morning, my sister's lieutenant governor of Maryland, and one of the board members knew her and said, oh, you're Kathleen's brother. You're Joe's brother, or you're Patrick's cousin. Every time I go to Massachusetts, I live in New York, I live in Westchester, so every time I go to Massachusetts, every other person says, I knew your father. When I go to colleges, which I speak a lot at colleges on environmental issues, and more of the students come up and say, oh, you're Arnold's cousin. Changing priorities. I'm really happy to be here at Siena College, because this college, I think, more than any other, embodies the kind of work that I do, and the values that I've devoted my career to, which is a commitment to responsibility, a consciousness that there's a duty to care for others, and also, and I think most importantly, a commitment to community. And that, to me, is what my work is all about. Environmentalism, to me, is not about Yosemite or about Yellowstone. but it's more about what kind of communities we want to live in. And the laws that we write and enforce are laws that are designed to give power to our communities to say, do we want to have pesticides in our food? Do we want to have a safe food supply for our children? Do we want to have incinerators in our backyard? And give community members the power to make those decisions. I've worked for the past 12 years for a group called a coalition of commercial and recreational fishermen on the Hudson River, which is part of our community. It's a grassroots group that has enriched our community for 350 years. We have one of the oldest fisheries in the country in the Hudson Valley. Some of my clients, the DeGroot family, for example, can trace their fishermen roots back 350 years to Dutch colonial times. They actually learned, their great-great-grandparents learned the fishing methods and the fishing trade from Lenape Indians, now Algonquin Indians on the banks of the Hudson River to cash. To have a few more years of pollution-based prosperity, we can generate an instantaneous cash flow, and we can generate the illusion of a prosperous economy, but our children are going to pay for our joyride. And they're going to pay for it with denuded landscapes and huge cleanup costs that they simply won't be able to afford. And if you doubt that, look at the nations that didn't have an Earth Day. Look at the nations that didn't invest in their environment on Earth Day 1970 the way that we did. Look at the former Soviet Union, where they didn't have a Clean Air Act or an environmental impact review requirement. And the Aral Sea, the largest inland sea in the world after the Great Lakes, is now a desert. It's like if all of our Great Lakes dried up at once. And the Sea of Azov in Russia, the most productive water body on Earth, after the Chesapeake Bay, is now a biological wasteland because they didn't have a Clean Water Act. And 1/5 of Belarusia, the entire state of Belarusia, is now permanently uninhabitable because of radiation poisoning, because they didn't have nuclear siting requirements that allowed public and community participation in how you build and where you site a nuclear plant. Or look at Eastern Europe, where they didn't have a Clean Air Act, in Kopsamaika, in Czechoslovakia, where the entire villages have to go underground at night because the air is too poisonous to breathe. I was talking with Sister Janet before we came on here today, and we were talking about environmental problems in China. They don't have a Clean Air Act in China. And the growth industry in Beijing is oxygen bars, where people literally go to buy a breath of fresh air. Last week, the New York Times had an article on Thailand, Bangkok, a city larger than New York, 10.5 million. And that's because we have been blessed in the Hudson Valley, because of institutions like this, with an extremely vigorous, aggressive, and sophisticated environmental community that has committed itself to this community and that has said, this river belongs to us. These streams belong to us. That's what the Constitution of New York State says. And if somebody dumps into them, it's an act of theft from our communities. And we're not going to allow that to happen. And they showed up at the planning board meetings and the permit hearings and the zoning boards of appeal. And they went to court and they saved this river. And today, the Hudson River is a model for ecosystem protection. It is the last river system on the east coast of North America, the west coast of Europe, the entire North Atlantic, the Hudson River, and I'll throw in the Mediterranean, the Black Sea, and the Baltic Sea. The Hudson River is the only river left in all of that area that still has strong spawning stocks of all of its historical species of fish. It is a model for how to do it right. It's a success story, and the reason we did that was because there were people here who were willing to commit themselves to preserving this community. Now, what happens when we destroy these ecosystems or when we drive fishes into extinction?
Lawrence Bale. Christine Margaret Bell. Mary Ellis Van Cott Blair. Kathleen Joy Boyce. LaQuisha Marche Brunson. Maureen Ann Buckley, cum laude. Brian William Bull. Stephen John Pirasinski.
Don't power up my weight.
James W. Birch, cum laude. Paul John Campbell. Jeffrey David Carmen. Caroline Jean Cesar, magna cum laude. Katina Lynn Cook. Tanya Marie Crowley. Michelle Marie Kruver. Jennifer Marie Anthony Guba. Carrie Elizabeth Gundrum, magna cum laude. Lee Hackett, cum laude. Nancy Teresa Halpin. Timothy Peter Harding. Gail Gerlin Hargrave Smith, magna cum laude. Jason John Hoyt. John Michael Monette. Michael Martin Ozemek III. Suzanne Elaine Passerati, cum laude. Joseph William Pavlak. Risa Lee Peacock. Allison Marie Perrot, cum laude. Timothy Patrick Pachoka. April Ruth Lambeck. Sandra Lisa Pazzulli.
Come on, they're not breaking.
Lori Hope Schubert. Aaron Jason Smalls, cum laude. Go, Jason. Thomas Francis Stanton. Christine Marie Streppel. Matthew Joseph Tay. Samantha Elizabeth Thornhill, cum laude. Stacy Helen Tregonza. Cynthia Lorraine Tries. Sandra Teresa Trzynski, cum laude. Denise Rockwell Vunk, summa cum laude. Robert Edward Yankowski. Patrick William Morris.
It's now my honor and my pleasure to introduce to you Maureen Smith, Alpha Kappa Alpha, summa cum laude, member of the class of 1996. Maureen has been selected to deliver your senior commencement address by a committee made up of seniors. Maureen.
Thank you, Dr. Astolfi. I would like to extend a warm welcome to everyone here today. Bishop Hubbard, Father McConville, fellow Siena graduates and their families, faculty, staff, administrators, the Board of Trustees, and friends of Siena College. I want to tell all of you that when I thought about giving this speech today, two fears immediately popped into my mind. Number one, I was afraid that I would wake up this morning without a voice. And number two, I was afraid that I would trip on my way up onto the stage. As you could tell, I woke up sounding like Marge Simpson. But I didn't trip on my way up here, so I guess the next 5 minutes should be a piece of cake. Nevertheless, I want to tell all of you children, realize that if children are treated badly enough for long enough, they come to believe they are bad people. We can't let that happen. Look into a child's eyes, and you will see the innocence. Marvel at the seemingly meaningless language of a 1-year-old. Realize that you possess tremendous power to make a child's life joyous. You can be an instrument of inspiration. You can humor and heal. Instill in children the love of learning so that school will be something to look forward to. Si estamos aprendiendo, estamos viviendo. If we are learning, we are living. Education breeds hope. Hope is what we all need. Making these suggestions a reality will be hard work, but the only competition is yourself. Your biggest challenge isn't someone else. A recent Nike ad says it well. It's the ache in your lungs and the voice inside you that yells, can't, but you don't listen. You just push harder. And then you hear the voice whisper, can, and you discover that the person you thought you were is no match for the one you really are. Siena has taught us the skills to play the game of life. Now go out there and just do it. Congratulations, class of 1996.
Thank you, Maureen. I'd like to now ask Jerome McDougall, Jr., the chairman of the Siena College Board, of Trustees to speak to us. Jerry?
And the board of Siena College, family members and friends of our graduates, and my dear members of the class of 1996. I realize that I'm the only thing standing between you and a drink. So I promise you I will be very brief. However, I do want to seize this opportunity to thank publicly myself, Father McConville, for the extraordinary leadership that he's given here at Siena College over the past 7 years. With his vision, wisdom, wit, academic acumen, communication skills, engaging leadership style, and unswerving commitment to the Franciscan charism, Father William has made an indelible impression upon the Siena College community and upon our greater capital district. Please know then, Father William, that you have our deep gratitude and appreciation, and that you will be in our prayers and thoughts in the days ahead. To our graduates, I extend my heartiest congratulations and sincerest best wishes. You are going forth today into a world and society faced with many challenges. Some would say that our country today is in a moral free fall. Families are disintegrating. As Maureen just indicated, children are being abused as never before. 1/3 of all the births within our society today are out of wedlock. Poverty as well as racial and religious bigotry are increasing, and our nation now ranks as the world leader in violent crime, abortion, divorce, alcohol.
And I have lied. This does not conclude. I have failed miserably to ask Father John Frambies, OFM, Director of Campus Ministry, to deliver a benediction. As soon as Father John is finished, the presidential party will leave the stage. Father John.
Thanks, Doug, for giving me a hostile crowd. The famous blessing of St. Francis was taken from the Hebrew Scriptures, the book of Numbers. I pray that blessing for you now. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord turn his face to you and be gracious to you. The Lord look upon you kindly and fill you with peace. Amen. God bless you all. Godspeed.